9 a.m. Coffee with Coach or Coffee with Coaches today. We got a pleasure, little treat for you. Hope you caffeined up for these kind of lessons we're about to get. We got Coach Steve Pikiell coming on, and we always got Coach Scott Goodale. So two head Rutgers coaches, man, two guys that they both build teams that are very similar paths right now. The way the basketball team's progressing, the way wrestling's progressing. Really excited to pick his brain a little bit. And Coach Goodale.
Yeah, I agree, man. Coaches, the fans have been wanting Coach to get on, and they've been asking for him. So this is going to be good. We're excited about it. Yeah, I know you got some really good questions of his culture, how he's building things, and what it's like going from Stony Brook to the Big Ten. So that's going to be certainly. This guy's a really. It seems like everybody we have on is just a good person, but this guy's just a good dude. And when he first arrived on campus, obviously we connected right away, and his vision, his passion is awesome. He's just a really good person, and he's got a pretty cool path. Just looking at all his stuff and playing for UConn, and that's all pretty good stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get him on.
Yeah, he played for Coach Calhoun too.
Yep.
So I mean, he's got some probably great stories for us.
And that was back in the day, and with the Big East. So I grew up on the Big East basketball, and I won't go too in depth with all that because I could sit on forever and just pick his brain about St. John's and Syracuse and Georgetown, because as a 14, 15-year-old freshman in high school, that's what I was watching, and he was all part of that. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Do you remember him at all?
I don't. And UConn was just starting to come on, I think, probably when he got there with I think it was with Burrell and Tate George and those guys and White. They were just starting to come on in '87. I was a huge Georgetown fan. Loved Patrick Ewing, David Wingate, Reggie Williams. So that's who I would emulate in my little downstairs with my sister. We would wrestle. We would wrestle Jackson versus Brick, and then we would play basketball Georgetown versus Syracuse. So UConn never really came into the fold until probably the late 80s when he was there. So it's interesting to see. I would like to know about that turnaround, how Coach Calhoun did that, So it'll be good, man. How you been? How's everything going with you?
Everything's going great, man. Just doing what I can still, still training and just kind of hoping some regulations get uplifted and some things move forward here, but just taking it day by day still and doing what I can. But, it's been pretty good for me, just having time to mentally think about my next steps and kind of, you set the foundation for the next part of your life after this quarantine. And I just been using this time to game plan a little bit, those next steps.
Now there was a Zoom call yesterday with USA Wrestling. I didn't get on it, but they sent me the call, so I'll listen to that this morning. I don't know what was on there, what was in place. Did you happen to get on there, or have you heard anything?
I haven't gotten on. I didn't get on yesterday, but they have some great guys come to talk to the Zoom meetings, and they record them. So you go back. I think Tony Dungy's the one.
Dungy and Peyton Manning were on. I listened to that one.
Dungy and Peyton were on. I forget who was on yesterday, but they're bringing superstars on and they record them. So it's like, even if you're not on the call, you got some free time. It's like listening to a podcast, but as well as the wrestlers are asking them questions, personal questions. So like, even when I'm not watching live, those guys are asking questions that I want to know too. So it's like, you just kind of feed off of them. It's cool. It's cool to be around those guys. They got a different kind of knowledge with football compared to wrestling, but as we're seeing, talking to different sports, man, all these mindsets are very similar.
It all relates. Yep. And Dungy was awesome the other day. And I guess Coach Dungy speaks to them quite a bit, which is kind of cool. And then Peyton Manning was just awesome on preparation. Obviously, he's known for his preparation, maybe the best of all time on how he prepares. And watching film was really, really cool. I don't know if you had a chance to hear that, but man, it's, he talks about quarterbacks, when they have a bad game, they'll watch the heck out of film and work harder. And when they have a good game, they kind of slow down watching film, and he was like, everything was the same for 20 years or however long it was. Everything was the same preparation wise. So on Saturday night, it was a good night's sleep, wake up ready to go at 1:00 on Sunday. So just really cool. And that's kind of what we talk to our guys about all the time, preparing for the week.
Our sport, I think more than most sports, is a sport where like a lot of guys don't watch a lot of film. I feel like, especially on themselves, especially on their opponents, they're mostly just watching the best guys in the sport. So I think times are changing that, and hearing these different pro athletes in different sports talk about how important the little details are, those little changes week to week by watching the film. I think impact some of the USA wrestlers at my level when we hear that, but hopefully it trickles down even to college and youth wrestling as well.
Yeah. I never really, I would love to have Coach Pikiell answer this. I know because basketball, man, you could play every other night. It happens pretty quick. There's a lot of times it's a quick turnaround, especially in the tournament. It could be, it's every other day. And then like it's hard. How much film is being watched? Okay. You may play on a Friday or a Thursday and then boom, you got to play on a Saturday, right? Like how much film are you watching? Are you going ahead? Are you preparing? I'm anxious to see where he's at with all that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's advanced scouting. Some of his director of ops or things like that are giving him game plans. But what's he doing that way?
Yeah. Is there like a strategy? If you got a Friday, Sunday game, do you got to break it? Like you're not going to tell the team focus on Sunday if it's a tougher team, but you kind of got to watch the film, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And I'm sure like us, you're always kind of looking ahead. I mean, we may wrestle Iowa on Friday, but I'm certainly watching film on all the guys, let's say for Michigan on Sunday. So, and all of our coaches watch a lot of film. So I never kind of understood why guys didn't want to watch that stuff. Like, I don't want to watch. Why not? It's great to pick up on tendencies, but nerves and all that. So every kid's different, man. Every kid's different. So
yeah,
whatever, it is what it is. And
I've been like that a lot in my career where I wouldn't want to watch really a guy.
Yeah.
But to be fully prepared, I think you need to take that in and you need to see it. And you need to be, if you're going to win, you need to be confident in yourself with seeing that.
Yeah. So. Good, man. Well, Coach is backstage. This is going to be really good. I'm excited. Hopefully we can get him on. There's no technical difficulties. Coach is, I know he makes some good money. I don't think he has a computer though. I think he's going straight. Phone out. Here he is, Coach.
What's up, Coach Michael?
How you doing, man? Are you on okay?
Hey guys, I guess so. I mean, I've learned how to get on every one of these Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams. I mean, Coach Goody, man, I didn't know there are this many ways to communicate. I'm just an old FaceTime guy and text people. But it's great that you guys invited me on. I got my coffee. I love my coffee in the morning, Anthony.
Here you go, baby.
I went for a run too close to 9. I was rushing. I couldn't make it.
Well,
Ashnault didn't prepare properly.
I'm sure Ashnault was running fast too, Coach Goody.
Yeah.
Not like us. My pace is a little changed now, a little slower than yours.
Good, awesome. Man. So listen, Coach, this just started out maybe 7-8 weeks ago that, the Rutgers fans wanted something. Pat Capra, Kevin Malice thought it'd be a good idea that we come on and just share really what Anthony was doing, how he was training, kind of how we were recruiting with COVID-19 going on. So that's kind of how it started 8 weeks ago. And here we are today, man. We've had a guest every single week. It's been great. We found out that Scarlet Nation is dying for this. They love hearing from you guys. And we've had some really, really cool guests, but they've wanted you for a long time. And obviously, for obvious reasons. So here we are, man, 9 a.m. And I know you're busy. We appreciate it. Just let us know and let the fans know how everything's going with your family, with the virus, with the team, kind of what you're doing and how it all kind of ended in March.
Well, I mean, first, I love being on. I mean, 2 legends, 2 national championship coaches. That's what we want to try to do with our basketball program. And, now that we work in the building together, I see how you guys work and the job that you've done. And Anthony, I can't tell you, I talked about you all year this year to our guys because I tried to get them to put down the phone. Holy cow. The phone, Coach Goody, that's the biggest fight we all have. Focus on yourself, not the phone. And Anthony came in and talked to our guys and, did a really good job of just kind of articulating his journey with the phone.
Yeah.
And it's what they all kind of go through. And you can't really warn them because in high school, everyone loves you that follows you. And then you get to the college level and you got a lot more followers, but you got a lot more opinions and they let that affect them a great deal. So it's a journey with the phone too, as they learn to grow with it. And I know Gio, you had Gio on the other day. I love it.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He was awesome.
And you know what? The funny part of Gio is too, he's a great student, too.
Yeah.
So he's a really good basketball player. He's a Dean's List student, but he had to go through the journey with the phone too. And just learn how to handle the criticism and the different things that you get. And it's kind of interesting, but we're doing the same thing. I mean, I'm just hoping to get back soon, Goody. I miss my team. I miss seeing my staff. These Zoom calls are fine and everything, but it's not the same. And our guys are working hard. That's the one good part of our program. I think one of my characteristics in recruiting guys is recruit gym rats, recruit kids that want to be in the gym, have a real passion for the game. And so I don't worry. Like, I know they're home and I know they're figuring it out. And I told them, Goody, that they have to go old school. You got to use your imagination. You got to be creative. You don't have 3 trainers. You don't have a Gatorade machine. You don't have a throwback basketball rebounder for you. Like, you got to go old school in your driveway, find a park, work on your ball handling, find a tree to do pull-ups and chin-ups,
Love it. I love it.
It's how we kind of grew up. I said, you guys get a dose of what we had to do to, in order to be good. And I know that they're all doing it. And that's what I love about it. Like, cause I know I have recruited guys that are going to try to get better. And I tell them all the time, the team that gets better during this pandemic is the team that's going to be great at the end of next year. Like, who can get the most out of this time when nobody's watching? And, that's been quite a journey, but we had, Big Ten calls the other day with the coaches at 6.5 hours of Zoom. We're really, meetings and recruiting, Zoom calls from recruiting, and, we're wrapping up scheduling too. So we're still getting a lot done. Our players finished up school this week. I love my team. I miss them, but we're getting through this period as best we can. And hopefully everyone in New Jersey and all our Rutgers Nation, just be smart about this. I'm hearing more and more stories, like people starting to be a little lax with this, social distancing and the mask. No, keep the mask on. Like, just, do what you got to do to get through this period. I know it's hard. Everyone has to sacrifice. And I think about the sacrifices wrestlers have to make, and basketball players. I just tell our team, it's another obstacle, man. We got to get through it, and you got to sacrifice. That's what we do all the time. So hopefully, all your listeners out there are being smart about how they're attacking this, because we want to save people's lives. That's what we really want to do.
Yeah. Let me ask you this with the Big Ten meetings, because I know Ann has some really good questions, but we should clear this out of the way, because I know people want to know this, and they're probably going to get in our chat here and ask this question, but are you hearing, first of all, are you hearing anything different? Is it September as usual? Obviously, that's not September as usual, but September, or what we're kind of hearing, and maybe you'll hear this on your Big Ten calls, is Big Ten schedule only starting in January.
I mean, I think all those scenarios are kind of being thrown around a little bit. I do think what people do now will affect when we get back to play, and if we get back to school in September. And that's why I say all the time, our numbers are going down in New Jersey. Let's just keep being smart about this and attack it the right way. But, all those scenarios are on the table. I think, as Goody, football, really important.
Yes.
And I really look at the NBA and the NFL and the Major League Baseball. I think they're going to be the beacon here if we can get back to playing.
Yep.
I always think, as the NBA season got canceled, college basketball season soon got canceled afterwards. I don't think if they took that step, I don't think we would have, probably taken that step. So I watch the major league teams a lot and how they're handling the crisis. And I think that's a good, guide to follow for us. But, I want to get guys back when it's safe. As we're all about the kids' safety and student athletes and people, I want to have the rack jumping again, just like you guys. I love wrestling. Like I love these other sports that, that I don't, see often. And I love watching you guys work out and the fan supported, it's awesome. And how about Big Ten wrestling too? Like people, I didn't know, Coach. I didn't know before I got here from Stony Brook. I mean, the fan bases. I mean, I sat in the stands. I hear the comments. These people are into it.
They're into it. They're into it. We're going to
basketball game.
Yeah, and we've kind of built it, that too, which has been nice, and the crowd and the following and student sections and all that stuff. So
we're going to get into the rack for sure. We're going to talk about the rack here in a little bit. And you want to start with where you're at?
Yeah, man. Talking about Stony Brook, you went there. You built something really special there, and part of the reason probably why you were hired at Rutgers is from that journey there. I was wondering more on realistic goal setting. I work a lot with kids, and some of the kids aren't ready to go be a state champ or a national champ yet. And they tell you they want to go do this, but I want to know a little bit about the beginning of these journeys that you go on as a coach. What are some of the first goals that you tell the team or the kids? Like, is it immediately get to the national tournament? Or do you have a more of a formula where you work your way up into that?
I mean, I think too, part of it's where you are with your program and where you are in your league. I think, every year you sit down with your team and obviously a goal in men's basketball is always to, play in the NCAA tournament. And everyone at the beginning of the year is 0-0. Like, everyone has that opportunity. What are the players going to do to sacrifice the most? How hard are they going to work? Usually dictates the end of your journey, and every season to me is always about a journey and, how you're going to fight through the obstacles. And that's why I think athletes learn how to fight through obstacles. And I think it helps them later on in life too. But, when I first took over the job, I was really about hiring a staff and then bringing some respect to Rutgers men's basketball, having a program that could go on the floor and compete with people and have, respect. My goal, even from year one, was playing the NCAA tournament, because I think that's the goal of every coach, that plays, whether it's hard to achieve, it is always the journey. Some teams, it's a more realistic goal, than others. But that's always, been my goal. In our first year, we kind of had to play perfect basketball to even think about playing in postseason. As you get better with your talent, and your guys get better and they work harder, you don't have to be as perfect to get to the NCAA tournament. And, our team this year, that was our goal. Was March Madness was 3-15-20. We had that on the wall when you spoke to us at the beginning of the season. That was our goal, Selection Sunday that night. And my goal has always been my 3 shelves in my office: NCAA tournament, Final Four, and national championship. And you guys proved that you could do that. And it's a league that competes for national championships and plays in Final Fours, So that was the goal of Rutgers basketball, even when people thought that was, kind of crazy. It's not so crazy anymore. We're getting closer to those goals. And I think we're getting the kind of players that want to sacrifice and work hard enough to achieve that.
I got to ask you this, because I follow you, I listen to you, I look up to how you handle the media. I think it's awesome. Like, I get in one of those press conferences after a tough loss, and this, I wear my emotions on my sleeves and sometimes probably say things I shouldn't say, but it's my way of speaking to my guys through the media, right? Because I don't like to speak to them right after a tough loss or even a great win. So that's just me. That's my opinion. But I listen to you, and you do such a good job, no matter what, of keeping it even keel. Now, here's a chance. I don't want you to give me coach talk here. I want this to be real. When does it – you're going through February. You're going through January, late January. You're going through February. When does it become – and I know you'll never say this to the media. You're probably going to the NCAA tournament. I don't know who you beat, maybe Purdue, maybe Maryland late. You're going to the tournament, but you keep saying one game at a time. We got to win the next one. Do you think what's your anxiety level? You're going to the tournament. At least I believe you thought that way. And you have a whole fan base dying for Rutgers basketball to be at the national tournament. And here you go, you did it. What's your anxiety level at that point?
Well, I think as you go through the season too, Coach, you see your guys in tough situations and games. You see guys growing and getting better. I mean, I just felt really confident this year's team after the first, 10 games, after the bumps that you have to go through, after the tough games, the tough film sessions, the tough talks. They just kind of kept responding and getting better. And so I knew when we started league season, like, we were ready. We had been tested we were ready to beat some teams. And then we kind of went on a little bit of run and were able to do that. I try to keep the guys like on an even keel. I try not after wins to get too high, because in this league you could go on a winning streak and you can go on a losing streak and be very good. That's what people don't realize. You can lose you could lose to number 13 Maryland and then lose to number 8 Iowa, and then people think the end of the world is coming.
End of the world's coming, right? You're the worst coach in the world. You didn't do a good job. He stinks. We got to get some. I know. We went through a 4-match losing streak, and a lot of it was at the rack against the best teams in the country. But at the end of the day, we knew we had Ashnault and Suriano, Van Brill, Gravina, Grello. We were going to make a run in March. So I kept saying, just let's get through this. But you're right. Scarlet Nation, they don't want to hear that. It's got to be every game. It's got to be a great one.
And that's what I love about Scarlet Nation too. I've been called the worst coach in America a lot of times. I love it. It challenges me.
Yeah.
I love their passion. I'm just glad they're commenting about us.
Yes.
When I first got the job, they didn't comment other than after we lost our first game, the year's over. So they never stayed tuned after that. And so I enjoy that part of it. I try to make sure that it doesn't affect my guys. That's more.
Yeah.
Because it really does affect them and a lot. I mean, they're kids. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. And when they get criticized for the first time, it affects them. And I always said, and I said this to Corey Sanders a lot, because he had as big a following as anybody in our program. I said, Corey, 95% of the people are saying great things about you. Don't focus 100% of your time on the 5%.
Yep.
And he seemed to do that at times. And he grew with that too. It's a tough position to put kids in. So I enjoy the criticism. I enjoy the expectations. They think we should win every game, because our first year when we won a game, they thought it was, the greatest thing in the world.
Yep.
Now they expect to win every game. And, quite honestly, I do too, Coach Goody, just like you.
Yep.
I think if we play well and if your guys wrestle at the highest level, our guys play basketball, we can win any game. I didn't feel that way year one. I felt like we had to play a perfect game. Yep. It's hard to play perfect games. So, we've grown with those expectations, and, I love Rutgers Nation, and they're awesome. And I love the passion. I love that they're fired up. I love when they go after referees. I think that's awesome. Yep. And I just enjoy the rack and the environment. And I think we're just going to continue to, like you, feel very confident. We're going to continue to build, really good basketball, teams and program, and enjoy that journey.
Love it.
Yeah. Now that you guys, the national tournament got taken from you guys and taken from our wrestlers as well, and all the other spring sport athletes and winter athletes in that time frame, which stunk. But moving forward, is now the main goal switch from making the national tournament to maybe making the Elite 8 or Sweet 16?
Yeah. Well, without a doubt, when Pat Hobbs hired me, he said, Steve, it's going to be a difficult job. And I said, Pat, you never mentioned throwing a pandemic in the middle of it.
That's not in the contract.
It was hard enough. It was hard enough to begin with. And then the league has Hall of Fame coaches, great programs. And now you got to throw a pandemic in the middle of our great run, But hopefully it makes our guys hungrier too. And I say this to them all the time too. You just never know. Yeah. And there's obstacles in the way that you didn't even know about sometimes. And you better appreciate the time you have playing college, sports too, because it could be an injury to end your career. It could be, a lot of different things. And now you deal with a pandemic, which no one has any control over, and it takes away your season. So you got to embrace the education and embrace the journey, embrace your teammates and coaches, because those are the things that last for a long time after you're done, with your college sports. And our goals keep changing every year. If our guys come back and they work hard and they do a good job during this pandemic, we're now going to play the best schedule in the history of Rutgers basketball, which, Goody, I said, bring it on. Pandemics, best schedule in the history of the, just keep adding those obstacles.
You see how good he is, Anthony? He doesn't talk Elite 8, Sweet 16. He company line. This guy's really good. I got to learn from him. If you ask me that question, I'd be like, we got guys that are going to national titles. We can win a trophy tournament. I love it. I love it. So, no, but this is a really interesting to me, because we had Gio on, and Gio always says, he wants the last shot, and he will kind of look at you, get me the last shot. And it seems like with every big shot he's hit, especially late, and I know you could go to some other guys, but how do you go about a kid in the huddle because I've been put in a situation where I could beat this kid. Let me wrestle this match. I could beat this kid. And I had a great week. I'm going to beat this guy. And I'll get caught up in it. Where are you at with you're in the huddle, 20 seconds in to go, and you got these guys that want the last shot? Like, is it like, all right, you want it, you got it, or you know you're going to Gio or you're going to Harper? Where are you at with all that?
You know what? The one part, I think I learned a lot from, Coach Calhoun when I played for him, and I used to come off the floor, and I think players see things a little differently sometimes than coaches, and I become a real good listener. What are you seeing out there? What do you like? And Gio's really grown with me in that, coach, he can't guard me. Like he'll give me the matchup. Like, coach, he can't guard me. Coach, he can't guard Ron in the post. And I like that kind of feedback that you get from guys. And sometimes you hear that from a guy the whole game. And then finally I say, all right, I'm going to run that play for you. But if you don't freaking score, I'm never running it again. And you'd be surprised, Goody, the determination to score that time once they know that. But, I like that kind of feedback. You usually can tell in the huddles, too, who are the guys that are locked in. We play 30 games, 32, 33, 34. It's a long season. There are certain games that guys just don't have it. And then there are other games that guys have it. And I think a lot of times you look at matchups, it's great to have a guy like Gio, because I always say that it's not an easy position to be in. You got to be willing to miss that shot too. And with that missed shot comes a ton of criticism. And I say that to Gio. I said, listen, every time, a shot has gone in, the coach gets credit and the player gets credit. But the credit is when you miss the shot and you and I are willing to stand up to the media and say, we're going to take it again the next time. It's always easy when it goes in and everybody's, great play, and that kind of thing. But you got to be willing to take the heat when you miss it. And, he hasn't missed many. But he's been willing to take that, and I like that. And I think Ron Harper too is a guy like that. I think Montez. We got Jacob Young will take it. He's got tremendous confidence. I think we got a lot of players that have that kind of swagger and moxie. And now moving forward, I think we can make those decisions really based on some matchups. Which I think is great, where you have multiple options at the end of games, but. Certainly Gio's been a guy with the ball in his hands. He's done some, magical stuff for us the last 3 years.
I have to think that some of that stuff comes through their work ethic and practice. Like, I would think if I'm with a group of my friends, there's always like one guy that, like he just has that personality, they kind of just stand out. It kind of just like, I feel like in that moment, there's always just a light beaming right on that person. And it's not a hard question that you ask. You're just like, yep, it's him. Boom.
Well, I think too, he's learned a lot from losing too. His journey as a freshman, his journey with Corey Sanders got a lot of the media, press, and good or for bad. I think he's learned a lot. He's really a bright kid, and he's willing to take that on. But it's all about your work and your preparation. He prepares in practice to take those shots. He likes the ball in his hands, but. Everything's based and Anthony, you're a perfect example of this. I've seen you work out in the gym. I'm like, oh my God, like if our guys did your workout, they'd be dead. And so I've seen you do that. And I've actually had some of our players go and watch you guys too, which has been a really good thing. And for them to see the work ethic, but practice always prepares you to be successful on the court. It's not the other way around. Whenever a player tells me he's a gamer, like I'm like, he's not a gamer. It's practice. Practice decides what you do in games. And I think Gio has grown in that area too. Like how he practices is really important to him. It probably wasn't his freshman year as he was learning how to be a player in the Big Ten.
We get that a lot, Coach. We get, you have individual meetings with these guys, or when you're recruiting them, what are some of your goals? I want to win a national title. Do you really want to win a national title? Let's go watch Anthony train. And do you really want to go through that? And then it's so much more than it. It's not just a wrestling room. It's not the 3 o'clockers we're talking about. It's what you're doing at 7 a.m., what you're doing at 10 o'clock at night, and it's so much more to it than just shooting hoops and playing hard. It's just a lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle, and that's the only way you're going to get to that level. At least that's what I've – and listen, if you don't live it like maybe Anthony or Nick or some of these other guys have lived it, you could still do well, but you're not going to get to that ultimate level. You see that a lot, quite a bit.
I think the hardest thing is, and you guys will agree, when you come into the best league in the country, basketball-wise, wrestling-wise, football-wise, you're a high school kid, you're coming into the best league in the country. You're not just coming into another league. You now are going to play the best of the best. And that starts with practice. And I really believe, these kids just, they don't compete like that in practice. They don't have to. They're gifted naturally. The practices are easy for them. And then they come to this level where every day practice. And then every time you compete, you're going up against a guy that was undefeated too. And I think that's a hard thing, especially your freshman year. And then your family haven't seen you struggle. They remember the senior year of high school. Everything was great. Coaching, and now, you got to go through that journey. And I think what made Gio great was, it's made him really good. And Ron Harper and Caleb McCon, they come from winning programs. But, they went through a little bit of that journey. Like, and I talk about that a lot. I said, remember your freshman year when you couldn't check into a game? Remember how exhausted you were at the end of the year? Like, that's what these freshmen now are going through. Gio, he came in and I won a lot of games. He was at Proctor Academy in New Hampshire. Like, it's a small prep school, really good, school. But they didn't play the kind of, I went to watch one of his games. There wasn't a college player against that he played against. Like, okay, now you're playing against 3 guys that are going to get drafted in the NBA. So that level of adjustment, takes time. And then plus then you got to deal with the criticism with the social media, so these kids have been the, God as a senior in high school. And now all of a sudden he blocks his shot. He only scores 2 points. Then you got to deal with that onslaught too. So there's a lot of pressure on these kids. And then, by the way, Goody, you got to go to school at a great academic institution. So, like, school is challenging. As Anthony will tell you, school challenges you. So you're getting challenged on so many fronts that, I tell them all the time, enjoy the journey, man. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but it's going to be fun. Keep grinding, be Jersey tough. And on the other end of it, you start seeing it with Gio now. On the other end of it, he's bigger, stronger, faster, tougher, more capable of taking on the challenges that he's going to face in the next few years.
I talked to Paulie Mulcahy a lot, and he actually was talking to him yesterday, and some of the things you were just talking about, like, I was like, so how you feeling, man? First time I talked to him since season, he's talking about, like, my back's just sore every day from the season, like, just things like you're saying, like, I felt run down towards the end of the year, like, just not mentally as ready as I thought I was, kind of thing. I feel like that's every freshman across any Division 1, 2, 3 sport. What are some things that you focus on with your freshmen when they come through the door? Are you stressing more mentally, like that feeling that it's going to come, or you're just like getting them in that culture fit for the team and having them buy in, kind of maybe sit behind a mentor, a senior, and kind of see what they do?
The great part, like, they all have different journeys. Paul's journey was a little tougher this year because he was the only freshman. I think the year before, Ron Harper had Montez Mathis and Caleb and Miles Johnson. They all kind of went through it together. So when one guy was sore from lifting, all 3 of them were, and they could kind of commiserate together. Paul now was the only freshman, and so he kind of had to go through it as a freshman, kind of alone. And he's the best kid, and he's going to be a terrific player for us. He's got that New Jersey tough, grind, but, had to, from the beginning with all of them, just say, hey guys, like, you just got to keep getting better, keep understanding practice, keep understanding the physical toll too. You got to sleep at night. You got to get off social media. You got to eat better. Like, you got to do all those things that you didn't have to do in high school to dominate. You have to do it at this level. The season's longer. We practice longer. There's more games, so you really just have to talk to them about everything, social media, all those different elements that go into, your freshman year. And then sometimes they have to go through it. Goody, I said, sometimes the best experience is just thrown to the wolves and you got to figure it out, and part of this is you got to figure it out, son. Like, this isn't Disney World. This is real life.
We say it all the time. These freshmen wrestle the high school level. It's 3.5 months. It's Thanksgiving break, and then boom, you're at the state tournament the first weekend in March. That's all it is. I mean, a lot of them wrestle year round, but with no structure and club practices, things like that. So after 3 months, heck, you're done with the first semester at Rutgers. That's it. Now we get into the Big Ten schedule. So it's super hard. It's something we have to deal with. Anthony went through it. It's something we have to – and he redshirted, so that kind of helped him a little bit. But you're right, man. You have to – from a coach's standpoint, a staff standpoint, you got to really monitor these guys. And then they all of a sudden, boom, you get sick. Now you're out for 2 weeks and your body breaks down. So it's that's probably the hardest part, the biggest adjustment. And not only that, it's every guy you're competing with in practice. Everybody's a 2-time, 3-time state champ now. You know, there's such a level in the practice room where that could be hard. And you got to go home on a Tuesday night, call mommy and daddy and say, I got my butt kicked in. You know, me personally, I didn't score a takedown for 3 months when I went to school at Lock Haven. You know, it's hard. So you're dealing with a lot of that. So I'm sure your guys go through it. I know Paul used to come to our practices and pick Anthony's brain and watch us and see how we train. He was mesmerized by the whole thing, but I'm sure come early March there, he was tired, right? He was tired.
Well, I mean, there's such a physical part of it, as you know. I mean, think about he has to fight through, you know, during the course of a game, you're fighting through like 40 screens or something. And these screens are being set by 265, 70-pound men. And in high school, I go watch high school games. They barely even make contact on any screen. And the guy setting it is a Division, 8 player. You know, like, so a lot easier to fight through and a lot easier to do those. And during the course of the year, that really wears on you physically, even for the best athletes. And so those are the things you have to fight through, as a freshman, along with, the academic rigors and, the tutoring, the study halls, and, you got to get sleep, and then you got to get in the weight room, and then coaches around you to be in the gym more and to get shots up. And then you got to go to practice. And then we're watching practice film. Like, I don't know in high school if anyone even films a practice. And now we're bringing them in to critique them in practice. So it's part of their journey, though. But I love it. And I think it's a big part that kids now that are transferring miss out on the development of that and the process that goes into being really good. There's 913 guys, Goody, in the men's basketball portal, transfer portal. It's like amazing to me. It's almost like 3 or 4 guys per program and counting. So it's not over yet. And they don't have the rule in yet to transfer immediately, which will add more. But I say, you guys just started the hard part of the journey. Like, just stay the course, enjoy the process. Like, good things happen. If you keep plugging through it, you can't, adversity hits, you can't run, in life, you can't run, and that's what I love about our guys. They've embraced, like, Miles lost 45 pounds, his freshman year. He wasn't really ready. We redshirted him. He took advantage of the redshirt year. He lost 45, 50 pounds. Now he's one of the best big guys in the league. But he fought through not playing. He fought through losing weight, getting in better shape. And now the results are paying off. So the journey that these guys are all on is exciting. If they just
stay the course,
process,
stay the course. The biggest frustration to me is any type of adversity, they just pick up and go. It's so easy now to just pick up and go. And in some aspects, I get it. In some, you have to fight through that. It makes you so much better.
Yeah, it makes the winning work. The adversity we went through the first 2 years for Gio made the winning. After the Purdue game, if you ever want to see happiness and truly a locker room that's committed, and, we go into that game, we have been going to Purdue and we have been getting slapped around the gym. Like, as soon as the jump ball went up, the game was over. And it's by far, everyone talks about, Michigan State's great. All the venues in the league are so
What's the toughest one? What's the toughest one? Purdue?
Bar none. Purdue. Bar none. Purdue is the hardest place to play. Their fans are on you. They are packed. They sell out every game. They're there early. They're educated. They're, really loud. You cannot call out a play. Goody, I call out a play, and I got 20 students shouting while I'm trying to call out the play. So no one can hear me. And as soon as I start talking, they start screaming. And it's like the most frustrating thing my first year. And then I had to start, like, we got to make signs up because no one's listening. And no one can hear me. I lose my voice at about the 10-minute mark. And their fans are unbelievable. And we go into that place needing to win a game on the road. And we pull it off in overtime on senior night when we've been losing to that team by plus 1,000, it seemed like, and the locker room afterwards, these guys, and I said, it wasn't that game. It was the whole year of working to achieve that one moment of, putting us over the top, and, it felt really good.
We saw the highlights. We saw it. And I think a couple days later, we had the same type celebration in the locker room. You were having fun, getting doused with water, dancing around. I'm thinking, man, that's got to be the best feeling ever, going to Mackey Arena. And then I think you ended up beating Maryland a couple days later. Is that correct?
Yeah,
right before that. Maryland, so you knew then we're in the tournament. And I just saw the way those guys responded to you walking in the locker room. It was awesome. And I think we lost Anthony here, but I'm sure he'll get back on. Here's what I wanted to ask you. This is more personal. This is individual. Now I want to hear about you specifically. Was it always a career goal? I mean, obviously growing up, and I'm a huge college basketball fan, and I have some pretty good stuff from Carnesecca, Boeheim, Calhoun, Thompson, Raleigh, all those great coaches, because that's what I followed growing up. But for you specifically, was it always a goal? You knew you were going to coach, right? And it started UConn assistant. Wesleyan I saw is all over the place, and then Stony Brook. And was it always a goal to get either to the Big Ten or the ACC? Was that your professional goal?
When I played at Connecticut, we were overtime against Duke from getting to a Final Four. So Christian Laettner hits a shot at Duke. I was a captain along with another New Jersey guy, Tate George, on a team, and we were going to do something that UConn had never done up until that point. We already won the Big East for the first time, and then had a chance to, go there. And a dream of mine has always been, I was like 2 seconds.
So you were on that team, right, where Laettner hits that shot?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was on that team. Fortunately, I was on that team, but unfortunately, that night, Laettner hits that shot from coming out of bounds. Unbelievable play he makes. Another guy in the games, guy that won a lot of games for Duke. But yeah, we were in New Jersey too.
Meadowlands.
We were at the Meadowlands, so it kind of comes full circle that I'm at Rutgers. And it was probably one of the most disappointing. When you're that close to going to a Final Four for the first time in school history, and you're a captain of a team, playing for a Hall of Fame coach. He hadn't gotten into the Hall of Fame at that time. He was still building. That was the first part of his build. And that was probably like, when I got into coaching, I said, boy, man, I want to play in a Final Four. That would be my ultimate dream, win a national championship, play for a Final Four. And, I was very happy actually at Stony Brook, building a really good program, mid-major power. But I just had that urge to, I want to win a national championship, playing a Final Four. And luckily Pat Hobbs, called, and, we really talked, because it was, I had a really good situation. My family was happy. We lived on the water in Long Island. It was really, Stony Brook's an incredible university, 22,000 students, has a hospital, a university, cancer center, all these, great things. We just built a brand new arena there. We were really a power in that league. And, I sat down with Pat, and I went over his roster. I talked to him a lot. We had our two best players were from New Jersey. So I recruited New Jersey my whole life. I said to Pat, listen, I'm going to build it. I'm going to, it's going to take time. He knew the program wasn't in great shape. And I said, I don't cheat. I'm going to do it the right way. I said, I was really in a good place. Like, if you want that, that's what I want. He reached across the table and said, that's what he wanted. And I'm honored that he gave me the opportunity. And I've tried to really work hard, just as you have, Goody, in 4 years, to make this a program that people can be proud of and do it the right way. And I think Gio's a Dean's List student, Miles Johnson, Dean's List student, Akwasi Yaboa, one of the best students maybe we've ever had. Joey Downs won the Chancellor Award the other day. He's going out to LMU to make movies. And, we got great kids. Jacob Young is going to graduate here in the summertime, and Caleb McConnell and Montez Mathis, who got a 3.0 grade point average. Like, just trying to build.
Well, you're doing it, Coach. You're doing it. There's no doubt about it, man. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome to be in the same building to see it. It's great. Basketball, we need to win. I told, I've been with four athletic directors, and I've told every single one of them, basketball and football need to win. And we got the guys now to do it, and the coaches to do it, and it's pumped, right? And I mean, it's everybody's pumped up, and there's nothing like going to the rack, watching a great college basketball game. I love it. I love being in the Garden. We're sports fans, and this is what I always dreamed Rutgers was going to be: great football, great basketball, and we'll win some matches as well. We'll do our part and win some bouts and have some champs, but we enjoy watching it, right, Ed?
Yeah, man, I love it. I came to Rutgers. I mean, like as a kid, my dad had season tickets to the football games when they stunk, and they didn't even have that student section there. It was just grass. So I've been a diehard Rutgers sports fan forever, and I even went to basketball games when I was a kid, when the men's team was probably a little bit better than when Coach just started taking over his team. That was in like the early 2000s, and then I didn't go to a game since. I really didn't go to any my college career, and then to be able to go to a couple this year, man, it was just so awesome. I'm like hooked. I wanted to buy season tickets this year. But the atmosphere, like, I mean, people ask me all the time, like, is basketball louder when Gio made that one shot, or the Kolodzic match when I wrestled at Princeton? And like, for me as a wrestler, like, I don't really, like, I notice the sounds, but you don't notice how loud. And it's like I gotta say, basketball is pretty loud. Like, I would think that's louder.
Well, I think, like you said, great to have Coach Gianna, involved. And then, Goody, I just think in our building at one point this year, 3 teams were ranked. You were ranked. Women's basketball, we got a Hall of Fame women's basketball coach.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's going to do a great job in gymnastics just in our building. Yeah, there's so many good things going on, at Rutgers. It's too bad this pandemic kind of slowed. We had a tremendous amount of momentum. Pat's building new buildings. I mean, obviously, our practice facility is a game changer too, and that helps all of us. Like, it takes, those facilities help us get some good recruits, and the momentum of all the programs. But I'm excited about football. I'm hoping like heck we're playing in September. The place is going to be jumping too, with recruits there and all that stuff. That kind of energy and excitement.
Yeah.
I got one more. I got one more serious one. I'm sure Anthony has one more, and then I got some good fun ones I want to hear from you. But this is a serious one because I'm curious. My sister's a high school basketball coach, very successful program. Her girls get recruited. But a lot of this is AAU now. A lot of this is club teams. A lot of this is, how are you handling AAU coaches? For wrestling, it's club coaches, but high school coaches, for the most part, have all wrestled and have a really good wrestling IQ and could tell you flat out, this is a kid who can wrestle at this level. High school coaches can do that. Is it more AAU with you, and how are you handling, the Adidas deals, the Nike deals, the Reebok, whatever the deal is, the agents, all that? I'm so curious about this.
There's a lot of agendas out there, certainly in the recruiting. And I'm just disappointed that because of the pandemic, we were lined up kids to visit. I mean, we have such a good facility now to show people, like, this was our time to really utilize that facility and show people what Rutgers basketball is. And so we haven't been able to have anyone on for visits, but it's like anything. I'm just very thankful. I had a great staff. So Brandon Knight, Carl Hobbs, Steve Haynes, Shoes Vitrone. We know a lot of people. We do a lot through film now. So if there's a young kid I haven't watched, I could pull up film on YouTube and, I could get a chance to evaluate them and what have you. But Goody, I want kids to come and see the campus. I want them to watch us practice. I want them to see me in action with the guys. I want them to see our weight room guy work, because I want kids to know what they're kind of getting into. And I think kids are virtually committing, haven't even visited schools right now. I mean, I just don't see how that's going to not put them in the transfer portal. Like, and so, I miss that part of it, because I want them to know what they're getting. And like, we signed, a great player out of New Jersey and a great kid, Cliff, and Big Cliff had come to our campus a bunch of times. He saw us in the weight room. He saw us play. He saw us after wins, losses. He has like a good feel. And I love the fact that chose us and New Jersey, as I love all the freshmen that chose us. We got a kid from California that chose us. Mowat Mag's going to be good. We have a kid from Sweden who chose us, Oscar Palmquist. And then we have a kid from North Carolina, Dean Rebrew, chose
Sure.
us. But they knew the program. They had been on campus multiple times. So this has been a little bit more challenging, to me. But I also feel like, everyone's going through the same battle. And as long as these people are safe and not traveling, that's probably a good thing. But, we got to continue to do what we do. And my assistants trust them a lot, and they know what I want in players. So they do a good job of vetting, kids before I get to them. And I've seen a lot of them too, especially the local kids. I know the local kids, and, I've been able to get out before this pandemic and see, a lot of the younger kids. So we're hopeful that we're building a nice, resume to try to keep some of those guys around.
You're a very tactical coach in the way that it seems like you recruit, the culture you're looking for in the kids, how they work. What are some of the things that you're doing during this time to find these next recruits, these next legends of Rutgers? Or like, I don't know, it kind of sounded like you hinted at like you might not be doing anything right now. You might just be waiting for this to pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you got to be smart too. We're doing a lot of Zoom calls and all those things with families and parents and stuff. I think you got to be smart how you put your roster together too. I really, I really believe that you need a certain amount of kids. You can only play so many in basketball, and we have 12 scholarships right now. We have one open, and everyone you got to recruit this kid. You got to recruit that kid. No. Sometimes you bring in too many guys, then people leave. You can't please, everyone. So you got to be really smart how you use your scholarships. This year I used 11 scholarships. And one of the greatest days of the year was when I was able to give Joey Downs a scholarship, one of our walk-on guys. I think that was great for our team. He's been great for us. I mean, his sacrifices and all the different things he did were great. And then we had a scholarship left over, for a high school kid who came in the middle of his high school year. He had already graduated, and Oscar Palmquist, and he got to practice with us for 2 months before. So now he'll be a freshman next year, but he's already got like a pretty good feel for our system and stuff. And so I think we were really, smart how we did that, because it's very hard nowadays. Everyone wants to play every minute of every game. It's really hard to do that. Obviously, you can't do that. And I think we got to be real smart, everybody that we add to the thing. And I want to make sure they're on board with what I'm about. And that's usually because they've seen us a lot, and they've really done their homework with us, and they've been on campus a bunch of times. So I'm very leery to have a kid commit to me that hasn't walked around our campus and met my team, and saw us practice or saw us playing a game. Like I don't think that's a good formula.
Yeah. That's smart. Unfortunately, we had to do a little bit of that this year. A couple guys didn't even get on campus, but we built a relationship, and they know most of our guys because they're kind of local. So that kind of helps. I do have a question. I could answer it for you because I know you'll never leave here. But did Coach Pikiell, did UConn reach out to you before hiring Hurley? Is in our chat right here. I'm sure UConn's always going to reach out to you, right? I'm putting you on the spot right now. You got to put a whole Scarlet Nation at ease right now.
Good. The only guy who reached out to me is Pat Hobbs. So. Yeah. I love Rutgers and all that stuff. Like, I'm one of those guys. They gave me an opportunity, and I'm so thankful for that. And we're building a great program. There's no reason to go anywhere else. It's a great state. There's great people. We're building great facilities. We're in the best league in the country. And I don't think people really realize that. If you want to challenge yourself as a coach, like one night I'm up against Tom Izzo, a Hall of Fame coach. Then the next night you're up against, Fran McCaffrey, who's won a zillion games, and John Beilein was at Michigan, and now it's Juwan Howard. Matt Painter's 19 years at Purdue. I mean, he's won a zillion championships in Wisconsin, and this is the best. It's the best league with the best coaches and the best programs. I'm just very thankful that Rutgers wants to keep me around, because I think. Hey, Goody, before I got here.
Yeah. Well, listen, just you lose your first game next year, they're going to be hiring a new basketball coach. Yeah.
You're right. You're going to want to hire one after that game too, probably. Yep.
No, I love it. I love it. Let's have some fun with it, man. I'm going to hit you a couple things here. One word answer, right? If you could have one intangible, this is a 7-footer, perimeter shooter. Someone who's just tough as all get out. Now, I think you already signed a 7-footer, so you might be good there. or somebody who could help your bench? You got one choice right now. Someone to help the bench.
Right now, someone to help the bench, for sure. Yeah, if I had one choice right now, good chemistry guy. We're going to lose that. We lost that with Akwazi Yaboa, just a great teammate, worked hard, and got along with everybody. That's one of the big things. But I like my team, so I'm really not. I want to make sure they're all working. Like I feel like we got the tools, and we got a 7-footer that could block some shots too to go along with Miles Johnson. We're gonna have 2 shot blockers, which is exciting to me. We could do different things with those guys.
I was going to ask you, like if we're recruiting and who do you want to come in the room? You want a blue chipper, right? We all want a blue chip guy, right? Because they can win a national title. But somebody who could fill out a couple weights, like that stuff is like golden. Somebody could wrestle 2 weights and is there for you. And this guy got hurt. You're a fill-in guy. This guy, and not only just be there, but be successful, right? Those guys are hard to find. And maybe it's more than just a 6th man. Maybe for you, coach, it's your 9th guy off the bench, and you play a lot of guys. But for us, man, if we could find that guy that could wrestle both weights, and not only just wrestle a couple weights, but be ultra successful. And they're kind of hard to come by, right, Ant?
Yeah. I mean, you're doing a better job as years go on finding those guys to fit those roles. But I think it's part of any coach's journey. You figure that out. You think you want this really good recruit, and then he ends up getting on campus and getting into some trouble, or end up getting off transferring in a year. And then you realize, well, I guess I didn't look at that kid's character, and you adjust. And you've been doing a great job year to year fixing those little things. And we're putting together a better and better and better squad. And I think that's the journey of any great coach, making those little changes year to year and finally putting together that national championship squad.
See what I did, Coach? I teed up Anthony to praise me there a little bit.
I like that. I agree with that so much. I mean, I enjoy.
Yeah, we talked to him about
414. I remind him of that. I was like that too. Underdogs, and those kids have a little bit of different edge to them. And their agendas are a little bit different. They've never been, given everything, or never been touted, and they have a little bit of hunger, and I think a lot of our guys that we've gotten have been that way. And that's, the way I like it. A lot of times, I never know who's ranking guys and all that. Yeah. I always say that's the most dangerous part, and who can rank a high school kid? Who knows what he has in his heart? Who knows his drive? Who knows when the obstacles get tough, how they're going to respond? And I think sometimes some of those underrated guys have already had to respond to a lot of obstacles and fight through it. And I would say the only star that matters is at the end of your career, when you get that degree and when you keep playing. That's the stars that you want. And when you're in high school getting those rankings and those stars, they don't really factor into your college career. They make it harder for you, really. I've never really been into that. I'm into guys that want to be at Rutgers. And no matter what the challenges are, we're not Duke. We're not one of those places that has had tremendous success in basketball. We're Rutgers, and we could be like that. But I want kids that understand that and embrace the challenges that go with it. I mean, you used to wrestle in maybe one of the worst facilities in the world, Goody. And your guys embraced that, and they became tougher because of the venue and what you had to do now. And you probably worry. I worry all the time. The place is too nice now.
Yeah, we worry about that a little bit. Heck, during the year, we had guys like, listen, Coach, can we go over to College Ave and practice? I was like, we're not going to do that. But that's kind of their mindset, what they were thinking.
Yeah.
All right, some quick hitters here. Jordan or LeBron?
Yep. I grew up with LeBron. So, I grew up with Jordan. I love LeBron. I think they're both great in different ways. But I grew up, that was my era, and my college teammate, Scott Burrell, played for the Bulls during that time and stuff. So I watched them practice too. I went to the Indiana Pacers when they played in the playoffs. So, I grew up, not only that, Ron Harper's dad was on that team. And, you had a lot of Pippen. I remember watching them practice and just seeing what unbelievable competitors they were. So, I got to go with Jordan, but I really appreciate LeBron's unselfish.
And that's such a good answer, because Anthony's roommate is a huge sports fan, and we argue every time the documentary's on. Mikey Simmons and myself go back and forth on, and my argument was always what Jordan did, the people he had to beat to get there in the East is what separates them. And I know LeBron's great and Kobe's great, but I just think of who Jordan had to beat. And it started with Bird, and then it was the Pistons, and then the Knicks, Patrick Ewing's team, and then the Pacers were probably the best one. So I don't know. For me, and again, I grew up with them, so
I'll tell you what Mikey will say. Mikey will say, you take away LeBron from the Cavaliers, how's their season going to go that year that they won it? You take away
Pippen,
Jordan, and they make it still.
Yeah. So, yeah, he thinks if without Pippen, like every great team has another player.
Yeah.
Well, hey, and I'll tell you this: the thing with Jordan is he stayed with the same organization. They weren't good when he got there. He never went.
There we go. I love it.
Him. You know, like it was a different time too. Like, yeah, it was a different time, and you see the physicality of the game back then. Like they physically would beat you down. Now, if you touch a guy, it's a foul. So it's very different basketball, and I just love the fact that he stayed. His team was built. They drafted. They made a couple trades. I think nowadays the free agency is let's go, and I'm going to take two of my best players with me. And used to want to fight those guys. Sure. They were the enemy, type of deal. So that's very different in basketball now. But they're both unbelievable. And physically, they're like freaks. You just don't have those kind of bodies that could do. LeBron James is so fast. If you ever saw him practice, I mean, he's 270 pounds, and he's like runs like Jacob Young on our team. That's how fast he is. So they're freaks of nature.
Who's the best player he ever coached? Guys. And I'll take you off the hook. Don't put a Rutgers guy in there. Not, who's the best player you ever coached?
Yeah, I was fortunate to be at UConn when they had some really good players, and then I coached there. Donyell Marshall was a lottery pick, and I was very fortunate, to coach a lot of really good players, and but I saw a lot of them. I got to coach a lot of them. But Donyell Marshall was a player of the year in the Big East. He was he could block shots, run the floor, shoot the ball. He's 6'11", played in the NBA for a long time. I played with Cliff Robinson, too. He played in the NBA for 18 years, 19 years, had a huge career. I was very fortunate. Scott Burrell and, Chris Smith, another great player at UConn, leading scorer all time, Connecticut. And then we're going to start developing some of that kind of talk.
Best player you coached against?
Well, I played against Shaquille O'Neal his last game at LSU. So we beat them in the NCAA tournament. That was unbelievable. He was talk about a freak of nature. Just big and so fast, Goody. But I played against and coached against, some of the greats. Victor Oladipo at Indiana. I remember him lighting us up when I was at Stony Brook. Just some terrific, Rudy Gay. We played against them when I was at, UConn guys that we played against when I was at Stony Brook. And now in our league, it seems like every game we play, there's a pro on the other team. So those challenges are great. I love playing those great players.
Coach,
and trying to figure out ways to stop them.
He wants to know, did you only pick MJ because of that's your generation? Because he says your explanation kind of sounds like you liked LeBron better.
Tell your roommate I'm an old school guy.
Loyalty. The same way. I want you to. I don't know if you could rank these guys because you're trying to beat them and trying to kill them, but take Calhoun out of it. Carnesecca, Boeheim, John Thompson, Raleigh Massimino. That's one league.
The unbelievable thing was when I played in the Big East. Yeah, that was one league. That's Big East. And then throw in Rick Pitino, too, at Providence. So, that was every night in that league. PJ Carlissimo was at Seton Hall when they were rolling it. I mean, Carnesecca, when I first started at UConn, he had St. John's was running the Big East. Georgetown and St. John's with Boeheim right there, too. He had
Walter
the Chris
Berry,
Mullins and
Walter Berry.
Mark Jacksons, and I remember Mark Jackson posting me up. It was a nightmare, playing post defense as a 6'4" guard against Mark Jackson. I had never been posted up in high school. I was as big as anybody. And Mark Jackson took me down to the low post goodie, and Calhoun was like, Calhoun was, get him out, get him out, get him out. He can't guard him. Get him out, you lousy. You know, so I had to face all those guys. John Thompson, that was Pat Ewing.
The only thing I was kind of like, really, the Carrier Dome was the only, like, St. John's played at the Garden. I think Georgetown played their big games off campus, right? Everybody kind of, even UConn, you guys were off campus. You weren't.
Yep,
they didn't have that building. Is that right? Yeah. So nobody had like a home gym except for the Carrier Dome.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest place to play if you're a shooter was the Carrier Dome. It had the weird background. It had the, you had to go through certain doors and the wind and, just all the things that keep the Carrier Dome afloat, the air in it and the way that circulated. And they always use these basketballs. They had the best athletes. I felt like Syracuse, Georgetown had the best athletes. They would pump these basketballs up. So, like, if you were a good shooter, man, they're tough places to shoot. And they had the best athletes, so they would run and get the most dunks and rebounds, and they had really a huge home court advantage. The Carrier Dome's always been crazy. They'd have 30,000 people there screaming at you. So, crazy places. But they're all Hall of Fame coaches. So I don't know how you decide.
Yeah, it's tough. I was a big Raleigh guy because his grandson was in my class. We were in the same class. So I would say, hey, there's Bill.
And Raleigh, unbelievable coach. Unbelievable coach.
Coach, you have anything?
Yeah, I got one more question. Not as serious. One thing that you look for in a recruit outside of basketball, not looking really for like just good grades. I'm looking for, like, I don't know, something you're looking for that's different, that's outside the cusp, a little unique, maybe that makes you committed, like, oh, this is the kind of kid I want, or this is the kid I don't want.
Yeah. You know what? Great families. I'm telling you, it's a huge part of this. Like, and I'm blessed. My players, Montez Mathis's family and Paul Mulcahy's family and Ron Harper's family, I think you have to have great families. I really believe that, because it is a journey and everything's not going to go right for every guy all the time. College is hard, and I really try to do, a great job recruiting great kids from great families, and then their basketball abilities factor in, obviously. But I think that's an important part of this, and figuring out, in the recruiting process. So I love toughness and I love guys with that will, but, I think the people around them, positivity, like, surround them with, I think these journeys are great, and these kids are treated great, and they're at great universities in the best league in the country, and the most televised and fan watched league. But with that comes a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of tough times. You're not going to win every game. I like to tell people you're not going to win in this league. This was considered the best league in the history of the Big Ten basketball. So, like, you're not going to win every game. You could be really good. I thought Minnesota was a great team this year. I think they have 2 NBA draft picks. And they finished 11th in the league. And I think if they were in any other league, I think they would have finished in the top 4. It's not that they weren't great. It's just that the league was, like, unbelievable. So you're not going to win every game.
We know that all too well, right? And I mean, that Big Ten wrestling conference is incredible. We finished 9th in the country 2 years ago. We finished 9th or 8th in our league. It's like, it's crazy. So, these guys are going to get beat. They're going to lose matches, and that's part of it. And you got to stick to the course, stay the course, and understand there's going to be so many ups and downs. But the league's what makes it, though. Like, why would you want to go through what these guys through and not either wrestle or play ball at the highest level? So that's kind of how we recruit it and kind of what we think about. I don't know why you wouldn't want to do it in the best conference.
Yeah, and I saw that too. I mean, one of the great things that Rutgers did, and I know schools would beg to be in the Big Ten, like, we got in the best league, and it's the best academic league too. So it's not just, I mean, these schools are elite schools. My daughter's at Northwestern. It's an unbelievable school. Michigan, these places, and so tradition, great academics, great basketball, and then you factor in we're the most televised league. We got Big Ten Network. you know, in the basketball and wrestling league. Like, I watch the wrestling on it. I love it. I see the fans, and I'm like, how could you not want to? If you're one of the wrestlers, you want to challenge yourself at the highest level. It's right here. It's right here in New Jersey, and you could take advantage of it. But that's the honor of playing in a league like this. And then you see what we're doing on the academic side and the medical side. Goody, how about
pandemic? I know
we're at the forefront of the pandemic right now, trying to testing kits. Rutgers, I'm so proud when I see that stuff. I mean, our research teams and the hospital and all the work that they're doing, you know, it's going to be saving lives. And I know all the universities across the, you know, Big Ten are doing great things medically too.
Listen, Coach, you are a huge reason why students want to get back on campus. Coach Shiano is a huge reason. I mean, the athletic structure is a huge part of the college experience, and people want to get back there for basketball because of everything you've done. We are so fired up you join us, man. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. It's all, and it goes so fast because I'm writing notes right now, just listening to you, because I'll steal and take some things from you for sure. I know, Anthony. No.
Hey, don't do that. You're a national
so I was just
champion.
fortunate enough to coach this guy. I won nothing.
I gotta follow you.
Until we hoist the trophy, we're going to keep working. So I got one more for you, and we do this. We kind of do this with all our guests, and then we'll let you go, let you get back to your guys and your family. You're stuck on an island for 6 months, and you don't have to add your wife to this. She's already invited. You're allowed 3 people to bring to the island. Who are you bringing and why?
Oh, I mean, the first guy I'm bringing is Jim Calhoun. You know, I've been blessed, and the toughest guy I can tell you that I've ever been around, and he's still coaching. He's 78 years old, and he's coaching Division III program in Connecticut. Like, the passion, the drive, but he's maybe one of the greatest people, you know, too, that I ever, you know, that I've ever been around. You know, so he would definitely be one of the first guys, you know, that I pick in the boat. And then I'm picking Pat Hobbs. We've been through a lot together, and you know, we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and you know,
the job incredible leadership,
incredible. And the job with this pandemic, because I mean, there's no you know, book that has how do you handle a pandemic. It's hard enough, all the issues that you have to handle with budgets and with all the different agendas that he deals with. But you know, he's been by my side, all the losses and the wins, and I just love his energy. And think about, he's had to build a program. You know, basketball wasn't very good, football wasn't very good. You know, raise money. You guys were good. Women's basketball was good, but he's had to raise money to build new facilities when 2 sports that get a lot of attention weren't very good. And he's been able to raise money, and you know, the APC and the Rodkins Center that's going to be built, all the things that we've needed, he's done during a tough time at Rutgers athletics too, winning wise for the 2 programs. You know, so the job that he's done has been, you know, unbelievable. And then, you know, Goody, I
saw that.
Take my brother. I have a brother that was a walk-on with me at UConn, and he's the best. Yeah, he's the best, and we've been, you know, best friends forever. And he travels to every game. He was out in Indianapolis. He now comes, supports, and he knows basketball too. He's a great, you know, sounding board. You know, so I'm lucky. I have a lot of people in my life. I could probably fit 20 people in that boat, including my assistant coaches, and I'll put some players in there too. You know, but you know, those 3 people have been people that, you know I can lean on, and they're always going to be there for me.
That's awesome, Coach. And any closing thoughts?
Too,
now, before you leave though, you guys fans can watch the Wrestling Room on streaming platforms. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and tune in. Don't forget to please press the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date. Just a little press we got to throw in there. Yo, also talking
Coach
school. I'm a grad today. I got my graduate hat next to me. I'm ready to go virtual graduation after this.
Big time. Congratulations.
You're doing my school.
I'm doing virtual graduation with a couple global.
Let's go.
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna
Coach, man,
I wisdom, or maybe you guys can give me some.
Did they give you a cap and gown to throw on?
What was that? No, they didn't give me anything.
I can't wait.
You know
wait to hear from you
in
an hour and a half.
You guys earned it, not me.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I appreciate you.
There you go.
Appreciate you coming on. I know the fans love it. They love you. we're thankful for you, and have an awesome day. Keep staying safe. Keep pushing that. Everybody stay home because we got to get back there in September.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Hey, guys, I appreciate having us. Fun. Let's do this again.
All right, buddy. We'll see you.
I'll buy the coffee the next time.
Yep. That went good, man. That was pretty
guys.
cool. It goes so fast, man. I could sit there and pick that dude's brain forever.
Yeah, he's a good mind, and just the way he deals with certain questions and steering them in the direction he wants them. He's really good at. I don't know if it's the way he wants them or he's just super, just like maybe he's just oblivious and he doesn't realize he's doing it even.
Yeah,
but
when I think of him, he's just super patient. You know, he seems super patient, and I know he's got to be dying to get back because, like basketball, like he's made a living on getting those guys back to campus, and they're there all summer, they're training, and just like we do, So I'm sure he's just dying to get back with his team and get those guys back.
Yeah, and he's had I think about things I say to kids when I'm coaching them, and it's really just things I've heard that I got like from my coaches through the years, and he's just been around so many great athletes, so many great coaches. He's probably just had so many great lessons passed down to him, and you see it shining through him in the job he's doing at Rutgers and the jobs he's done before this.
Yeah. Give me a quick update on your brother. Where's he at with the baby?
Hopefully they have the baby tonight. Jess is in labor right now. My sister-in-law's in labor. So
wow.
Yeah, he's hunkering down. Maybe he's listening to us in the waiting room or in her room. Last I heard is he was just hunkered down. He texted us this morning that everyone was healthy. They were hoping to make progress and that she would give birth to a beautiful baby by tonight. Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And can Billy be there, or Billy can't be there, right?
I haven't gotten many updates on that. They were dealing with some things going into it. I don't know what the circumstances are right now. And things are changing minute by minute with the pandemic. If there's people coming in, emergency situations, so they're fortunate. They're safe right now in a room, and Robert Wood Johnson right at Rutgers. So
good.
Rutgers, just like we were talking about, great medical team there, great research team, and that's where my brother and my sister-in-law trust for having their baby. So
awesome.
Yep.
What else? How's the room doing? How the roommates? They good?
They're good, man. Everything's good. What's going on with you? How you been doing?
I've been doing good. Just getting through. It's been a tough week. So with my passing on my dad, but it's been awesome. This is a good opportunity to thank everybody from Rutgers and the administration, and really I've heard from every head coach and a lot of fans and donors. And anytime you lose a parent, it's hard. And my dad was pretty big in this community, so we got to share some really, really cool stories. And it's been hard, but it's life. We move on, and that's the way he'd want me to do it. And I thought it was pretty important I come on this show and be with you. And it's been an awesome hour and 20 minutes now, and I'm going to probably go out and play some golf here. We got some good weather coming.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. So I'll go out on the course and play some golf and try to enjoy myself for a little bit and settle down and get ready for the weekend.
My mom texted me. She said Billy could be there for labor and delivery. May have to leave after the birth though.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think, I think about the hospitals. That was the hardest thing for my dad. He was alone, right? They wouldn't let anybody in. And that was the hardest thing for our family, not being able to go see him. I can't even imagine your mom and dad not wanting to see that baby coming in, or at least just be there and get a chance to see him. So that's got to be pretty darn hard. But
for sure.
Soon enough, he'll be home, and
for sure
he'll be a happy Ashnault.
Yeah, I know I'm happy, and I know the fans are happy to hear from you this morning, Coach. And I mean, I'm sure your dad'd be happy, man. This is who you are, This is the kind of person you are. You're not gonna change, You just I texted you, one speed. You got one speed. You only know one way.
Yeah,
it's the kind of person you are. So I think he'd be proud of you.
It's it sucks the reason why, but it's pretty cool to hear from all the people. He coached. He didn't just coach wrestling. He coached football, and probably baseball was his biggest sport. So every one of my friends growing up, he coached, and every one of my brother's friends. These guys are 52, 53 years old, and they're calling me up like tears, crying, like, because they haven't seen him in such a long time, And then we just start telling them some crazy, crazy stories, and it's all good. But yeah, he's touched a lot of people's lives, and that's, in that way, he's a big hero of mine, man. Just being able to touch all those lives through one thing or another. And Sports was a big thing for us in this town, and yeah, he'd want me to come on, and it's been great to hear from a lot of people. That's really all I could say on it, and we're moving on, man. We're moving on, and he'd want us to do it.
Heck yeah. I know we're gonna wrap up here, but good reminder to you guys that you guys could come face to face by pressing the green fan line button while watching the FanCred app, and you could come talk to us face to face. I mean, Coach Pikiell was great. We went an hour 15, hour 10 minutes. So I don't know if we're gonna be taking any callers right now, but for the future, you could get on there pre-hand too if you get in there before and try to get on. I don't know what our producer will do if he'll let you through, but you always give it a shot.
I think maybe next week we do a show where it's just all people calling in or coming on. You know what I mean? Coming on, and I feel bad we didn't get to Harry Turner's question. I knew how Pikes would answer it, but Harry Turner wanted to know, being a young coach, how do you balance throwing your guys to the wolves and getting them some success when you're building, like he's starting out a program. It's his first year, and he would say, put him in the fire, man. Put him in the fire like he puts all those freshmen. Make them wrestle the best guys, and in the long term, and that's kind of my advice I give to him, in the long term, he's going to be better for it. Even if it takes to the national tournament. I know he doesn't – we go through that too, man. You don't want to go through a Big Ten season and lose. You lose that confidence. You may lose a career. So it's a fine line, and you got to play that fine line, and that's probably the biggest thing you get from why wouldn't you wrestle a freshman or why are you going to start a true freshman. And listen, sometimes they don't need a red shirt. They need to go. So that's what I would tell Harry, and I'm sure Pikes would say the same thing. Basketball players rarely redshirt anyway, so it's put them in the fire, and they don't really have much say with their schedule.
Right.
They're going to play the Big Ten, 30 games, and that's who you're playing.
That's what I was going to say to Coach Pikiell, man. Like, if you're going to come to Rutgers and survive a year and 2 years and not be the starter, not be the guy, but still come and show up, like, you're tough. You're a tough guy. Dealing with what you deal with with Rutgers athletics through critics and people that support you, don't support you, teammates. Just it's hard nosed at Rutgers, man. It's the Jersey way, Jersey tough, and whether it's teammates coming at your necks at practice or out of practice calling you out, I think it's always honest accountability at a school like Rutgers, and sometimes they keep you a little too accountable. If you lose one game, they want to fire you, but it's definitely something I look for in a Rutgers athlete. I expect them to be tough coming from Rutgers. Yeah. So.
That's the best thing about having you in a room around these guys too. You're not afraid to tell them, nah, man, that isn't a good practice. You're not tough enough. You're not training hard enough. You got to fight. And when you're hurting, that's when you got to go another gear. And the best ones do it. And we're not trying to be jerks. And I don't think you're trying to be nasty or a jerk, or it's tough love. And no, you want to get to a certain level. This is what you need to go through. And it can't be one day, right? It can't be one day. There's got to be consistency to it.
Yeah. Well, I think way too many people in that transfer portal, like you said, it's just like they're running from themselves. It seems like to me, they're just looking for the easier route, easier coach that maybe will put them in the lineup with a little less work.
Yep. So. You're right. Everyone wants to start right away. And I kind of liked it looking back now. And I get it. You have one side, like the Jay Billis side, who's going to say, well, they're a 17-year-old kid who they don't know how to make a decision. They're allowed to transfer. And when we were getting transfers, a couple of them, I was like, yeah, he's right. And then the next thing you know, guys want to leave your team. You're like, well, they should be penalized a little bit. If a coach can leave, why can't they leave? I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air on it, but there's just too many people just get in the portal and go. Not only can you can go and wrestle right away. There's the next week. Crap, man, you could be going the next week. So I don't know. There's got to be, and maybe it's more of a wrestling football thing. There's got to be some type of rule in there where you can't just get up and go and be ready to go right away. But that's just my opinion.
Me too. I agree with that. It's tough to see a guy I'm teammates with Pete Lepari, and then he transfers to Ryder, and we gotta I'm still Team Rutgers. We gotta go wrestle him, and he's a friend, and it is what it is. Yep. But it's just a crazy situation. Dang, 3 weeks ago or not 3 weeks ago, but 2 months ago, he's in the wrestling room wrestling with us, and now he's the enemy. So it's just crazy how it could be like that.
Pete actually reached out to me this week. It was actually good to talk to him. I appreciate him for that. So still a good dude, man. We recruited him. He's a part of our program. I get it. It happens. I love Tyson Dipper. He left, right? Yeah. Still love him to this day. Talk to him all the time. Yeah. So I get it. It is. I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Enough of that. Let's start game planning for next week. Let's you and I put our heads together and see what we come up with. Maybe we just bring people on. I'd love to get Pritzloff on.
Yeah.
Maybe we get Donnie on it. I haven't seen him in a while other than our Zoom calls, but maybe we'll do a little bit of that. But I'm sure the fans will chime in. They'll want someone. Yeah. I still try to get Greg. I talked to Greg, but I never really pulled the trigger on asking him. We talk business, and he's busy. So he's doing a lot more meetings than I am. So
he's meeting.
Maybe we'll get him on one day.
He's meeting with everyone he's got to meet with virtually too. So it's probably a little bit more busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those guys are in a lot of Big Ten meetings,
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of Big Ten meetings.
Well, this was a good show, man. I think we should wrap it up here.
Yep.
I really enjoyed it, man. Hit it straight today. Maybe you break 80 today. Bring some good.
I'm breaking 80 today, man. I got a big match.
I went on a run this morning. I sent Durkin a message because I knew it was like 5:20 there. It was 8:20.
Yeah.
I was like, it's 5:20. Get yours in there.
We got to send him pork roll. Let's not forget that. We'll send him a roll of pork roll.
Yeah.
Get it out to him. I got so much good feedback from that show. It's been incredible. So good stuff. The fans love it. Let's keep doing it. All right, buddy?
All right. Sounds good, Coach.
Give me a text when Billy has his baby.
Sounds good, man. I'll send you a pic.
All
right. See you.